mentioning a couple things this morning politically. Yeah, politically, first of all, my rage has come and gone. And the bottom line is it now looks like Blumenthal has apologized via email in Connecticut. Maybe he can start to get that behind him and stop pretending that it was nothing. And also, what's fascinating, this past hour, and this conversation just grew organically, but everybody around this set says that if the job of Secretary of the Navy was offered to Sestak in the manner in which he says it was, that could constitute a crime that could get a lot of people in big trouble.
Right. One hopes that this was all a little more indirect than that. And
why does one hope that? Just for those that would say you're rooting for the White House.
Yeah.
Because do we really want to go down a trail of illegality and given everything else we have to do? I don't think, my sense is, Franklin Roosevelt did this all the time, and it's an ancient political maneuver. It's a little like the correspondent in broadcast news that they wanted to get rid of, and they sent to Alaska. So you send to the Navy Department. But I guess what I wonder is just exactly what happened. And so, as I think Mark was arguing earlier, just lay it out. This is actually the same lesson. What connects these two things with Blumenthal is, when in doubt, just tell the truth.
Right. Yeah. Just be transparent. Here's the thing.
Or even when not in doubt. But when in doubt in particular.
Right. When you're in the middle of a crisis. No doubt about it.
I just can't get past the words he has used so far.
Sestak's been so blunt about it.
He said,
it was a quid pro quo.
Offered a job. What does offered a job mean?
I was offered a job.
They didn't dance around the issue.
And Mark Halperin, he said, I was offered a job to get out of this race. Now, if we're not going to have indictments and hearing, it's going to require Sestak to say, I got carried away. I wasn't actually offered a job. But look at him yesterday on Meet the Press.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't look like he's willing to waver because he's talking about doing the honorable thing.
Because he has a reputation in Washington amongst political elites as being kind of a wacky guy in some ways. I think he's being cut slack on this, and people say, oh, he just said that. Well, he's now not just a sitting United States congressman, but a potential United States senator. Pat was on the precipice before saying, what did the president know and when did he know it? But certainly now it has been acknowledged by Robert Gibbs that someone, at least one person in the White House, talked to him about a job.
And I think most of us around the table know who that one person was who offered him the job, and that one person wouldn't have offered him the job without the president knowing that. So is Pat's question not an important question to ask? Well, Pat's non-question.
I should be more precise. Gibbs has acknowledged that there were talks, but that there were not, and he has asserted without documentation that nothing untoward happened.
Gibbs won't answer.
Inappropriate.
I mean,
answer the specifics.
Gibbs is saying trust us.
Right, that's right.
Right.
And is the press going to go with that?
I think it's going to be a long briefing this afternoon.
Well, they've already, there have been a couple briefings where they've asked him 10 times. And he said, I'm standing by my previous answer. I checked into it. Nothing, no improper conversations took place.
And
yet he was offered a job.
That satisfies Pat Buchanan, I know.
Pat, and that's the thing, Pat, Sestak, you imagine, and I'll just say what Mika said last hour, what if a Republican Senate candidate said George W. Bush and Dick Cheney offered me that said I could run the United States Marine Corps if I got out of a Republican primary in Texas? I find it hard to believe that indictments would not already be served up by this point.
Well, there would be demands for an independent counsel or special prosecutor, demands that the Justice Department appoint one, real pressure on them. But here's Sestak's problem is this. If someone offered you what you believe was a corrupt bargain, who made the offer? Just give us the name, and then the ball is in that guy's court. Now, Sestak won't do it because he doesn't want to start up these stairs because he knows where they lead.
Well, let's watch.
Well, let's ask really quickly about the name. Is it Rahm Emanuel? Did Rahm Emanuel make the offer? Is anybody willing to say that?
We don't know. We don't know.
Certainly has a relationship with Sestak.
Here's why we don't know.
So nobody's willing to say that on the air right now.
Congressman Sestak on Meet the Press yesterday. Here's what he says.
in the spirit of transparency, were you offered a job by the administration, and what was it?
I learned, as I mentioned, about that personal accountability in the Navy. I felt I needed to answer that question honestly because I was personally accountable for my role in the matter.
What's the job you were offered?
But anybody else has to decide for themselves what to say upon their role, and that's their responsibility.
Yes or no? Straightforward question. Were you offered a job, and what was the job?
I was offered a job, and I answered that.
You said no, you wouldn't take the job. Was it the
And I
Secretary
also
of the
said,
Navy?
look, I'm
Was it
getting
the
in
Secretary of the Navy job?
Anything that goes beyond that is for others to talk about.
Here's what I'm confused about. Personal accountability in the Navy, this is what he learned. And so, because of what he learned in the Navy, he's going to now say he was offered a job, but he's not going to answer any other questions about what that job was or who spoke to him about it. I don't understand why. And I'm personally just curious at this point. I'm really curious. I want to know. And I want to know why we can't know. If anything
we should know.
went
It's
wrong,
in the public interest. We should know. It's in the public interest to know.
Perhaps you wouldn't
if
want people to
they're
know.
trying to buy off a congressman to keep him out of. Because Arlen Specter, obviously, they promised Arlen Specter, you switch parties, we're going to make sure nobody runs against you in a primary.
Right.
And so this is how they did it.
Well, that would,
according to Sestak.
Yeah, I mean that certainly makes intuitive sense. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes, it does make intuitive sense.
When in doubt, tell the truth. Intuitively, that's what happened.
Pat Buchanan, it does make intuitive sense, doesn't it?
Sure, Joe. And your point is, look, if it was, now I don't know what it was, Rahm Emanuel offered him the job of Secretary of the Navy, he could not do that without clearing it with the boss who says, get him out of the race, offer him Secretary of the Navy or something else.
Oh, Pat, say it. Say what I want you to say.
If Sestak believes that he was offered a bribe, he's got a moral and legal obligation to report it. And he certainly's got an obligation, having laid this out there, to say who made the offer so that individual could say it wasn't, we were just ruminating.
And apparently you learned that in the Navy to answer.
Pennsylvania, you got this mess. Connecticut, you got this mess. And in Kentucky, you got, I mean, good Lord.
Well, I think basically any opening in the Senate creates problems. Remember, was it Blago, what's his name?
Oh,
Nice.
You watch Celebrity Apprentice. Don't even pretend.
Blago.
How dare you.
Ridiculous. All right, let's go to Kentucky. Republican Senate candidate Rand Paul's big win in Kentucky was a major topic also on yesterday's Sunday morning talk shows. So were his comments regarding